Okay, welcome to this tips and tricks video. This is one where we'll be looking at task completion. And remember, task completion is it's on the first column of the band descriptors if you've got that PDF. And we'll be looking at task 1 band descriptors and task 2 band descriptors for this because they are slightly different. Well, they are quite a lot different. And we'll be looking at ways to get 100% for task completion. So even if your vocabulary isn't great or your grammar isn't great, remember, it is possible to get a very good mark in your task response or task achievement simply by following these main things here. Okay, so let's start with the first task number 1. AC, by the way, stands for academic and GT stands for general training. So listen out for the things that are important to you. So this refers to both of them, AC and GT, and that means you have to write the minimum number of words. So whether you're writing a letter or whether you're writing a report on a graph or a map, for example, the number of words, 150, will apply. And if you do not put 150 words in, I think they give you a little bit of leeway, tiny bit, but don't risk it. Always write more than you need to, not too much more, just a little bit more than you need to. And remember, if you want to do it very quickly, find a line that's got the longest line that you've got, count the number of words in that line, and then count the number of lines you've got. So you've got 10 lines, then you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'd only have 60 words, so you'd need to more than double that number if you've only got 10 lines with only 6 words across. So do it that way if you're running out of time. Okay. And if you do not do the minimum number of words or write the minimum number of words, I think the maximum you can get is around 5. I'm not sure exactly, but it's not very good at all. So don't risk it. So academic students, people who are doing the academic IELTS, it must cover the key features. So if you're doing a graph, which is most of the time it's going to be graphs, sometimes tables, you need to be looking at the key features. So they are increase here, decrease there, increase again here, for example. The second thing, you need to highlight the main trends. So if you look at the whole graph, it's generally up, even though there was a dip over here. And this obviously graphs. You might have to think about this as well in tables as well, looking at the main trends. And in maps as well, I guess if there was if you've got 2 maps and one shows an island and the second one shows an island that's more developed, then the main trend is that the island has become more developed, right? Number 3 from these ones here, categorizes the data appropriately. Okay, so give an example of this. Let's talk about the map as well. If, say, for example, you have to talk about maps, you would have to maybe a section on human development of the island and then a section on natural development. Maybe the map shows that there was some changes to the actual landscape by natural events like a flood, for example, or a tsunami or something like that. Okay, number 4. Only writes about the data that is present in the graph or the table or the map or the process. Only. You are not adding your own ideas or own data from what you know about the world. If the map is if the task is about a graph that talks about, let's say, for example, increasing fertility rates or decreasing fertility rates in the world, you may be a doctor who's studying this and you may be doing a PhD on it, and you know stuff that is not represented in the graph. Do not speak about it. You only write about what's available on the graph because you're reporting on the graph only, or the table or the map or the process. Okay, general training students, you cover all the bullet points. A bullet point are these, in fact, there's a bullet point, there's another bullet point. So all the bullet points they will ask you to talk about, and you need to cover every single one of them. Do not leave some out. at least one sentence. If you're running out of time, at least one sentence. Otherwise, you're going to get a low grade. And you use the correct tone for the letter. Okay, so if you're talking to somebody that's socially higher up than you, then you're going to be more polite. If you're talking to a friend, you're going to be more informal. That's what they mean by this. And there should be a balance between the big picture and specific details. So again, similar to a trend in a way, the general overview of what's happening in the graph, or if it's a general training situation, the reason for writing the letter, you need to have a balance of that as well as specific details, focusing on those specific details. So in a graph situation, the general trend, as well as what happened here, why did it turn around, what happened here, why did it turn around, etc., etc. Okay, now let's have a look at task number 2 from in relation to task achievement. Okay, in this one, task number 2, remember, for general training and for academic is exactly the same, so there's no need to differentiate here. Okay, so the candidate responds to the prompt, in depth. Okay, so fully developed. Here it is, there's the word fully developed ideas. And in this course, we'll be looking at paragraphing and how to really develop a paragraph to fully explain your point and to back it up and to justify it and give reasons why you think this way about something. That's number 1. Number 2, uses the correct format for the essay type. Okay, so, well, basically the essay. So there's a very generic way to do an essay. There's always an introduction, there's always a conclusion, and those are always separate paragraphs. I never put all of that together into one big paragraph. Remember the rule: one idea, one paragraph. Okay, so the correct format for the essay type, if it's a compare and contrast essay, if it's a discursive essay where you're giving pros and cons about something, then usually you would separate the pros in one paragraph and the cons in the second paragraph. Okay, although you can sometimes mix them up. If you're a very advanced student, it's not a problem to mix the two up, so you have one idea, the pros of that idea, the cons of that idea in one paragraph, and then a second idea, pros and cons in one paragraph. That's also perfectly acceptable to do. Makes points that are justified with examples. So justified, backed up with examples. And the discourse markers or the cohesive devices most commonly used when I'm giving an example is for example, or to illustrate this, or for instance. Those cohesive devices are used to back up your point or to justify your point. Number 4, you do not repeat yourself or waffle on. This is something we spoke about in the cohesion and coherence video, where I don't waffle on. Remember, the meaning of that word is I don't say more than I need to. Okay, and I certainly do not repeat myself with the same phrases. I can reiterate or I can restate what I'm saying to make my point stronger, but I don't use the same phrases and certainly not the same vocabulary each time. I use synonyms. And number 5, never writes about something that's not relevant to the topic, irrelevant to the topic. Okay, similar to task number 1, I never add information that is not already there in the data. And number 2 here, task number 2, I only write about stuff that's relevant to the topic, and I do not deviate away and start waffling on about stuff that's not important or doesn't back up my main point. Remember, the main point, or my main points, because there's usually more than one, are the ones that you're focusing on. Do not start writing about stuff that's not related to that. Okay, that's it for this video. And in the next one, we'll be looking at, I think, collocations.